We got some alerts. We have some alerts. It's 11:40, 11:35, 11:40 on what's today?
Thursday,
June
29.
2023.
Yeah.
We're podcasting from the Pacific Northwest. No clues. You don't get any clues about where we might be.
We've talked about it already.
Yeah, and my shirt says Olympia, Washington.
You're welcome.
Yes. Jay gave me this shirt. I'm Skull. And this podcast is about everything and anything. It's mostly NBA basketball. Um, I can't have a conversation without like getting into anarchy. This is also the first time we've done this sober. Um, I just had like a sober day yesterday.
Yeah.
It's been 24 hours plus, 36 hours something since I've had any drugs or alcohol. I'm going to the weed store after this podcast, so no promises, but
That's my request.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
because they're microphone. Oops.
Let's just start. Should we start over?
I don't know.
Okay, we're not gonna start over. So it's muffled and weird, low quality. It is what 29th, June 29th,
We're sober.
2023. Right. We're sober, we're not on top of it. I think a lot of potheads would tell you their attention to detail can increase with the use of the weed. So yeah, well, we've been talking about like neutrality, like getting into a non-binary mindset. And Jay and I discuss this a little bit sometimes. Like, I I will argue that binaries exist, right? There's binary code in computers. I think there is something to be said for plants, animals, humans, in terms of sex and reproduction. There's some kind of like, that's not to say there aren't anomalies, but are they not the exceptions? If like a human being is born with like genitals that could go either way. I mean, just the fact that we're framing it as either way, but genitals that are not just a, cock and balls or just a, vagina, but a mix of two things. Like those do occur and it is natural, but I think it's maybe could we characterize it as like an anomaly that's like an exception. I mean, like, I mean that kind of stuff happens in plants and animals and stuff too.
I mean, I don't think that it's an exception or an anomaly. I think we just like have this because I think the animal world, bugs, whatever creatures, like they outnumber us as humans anyway. So like we perceive like our own experience as being pertinent and important in the framework of what we see everything else. So we kind of like prioritize that over like these other experiences or other existences. And I think that's why like things that are different or things that are weird or don't occur as often are like shunned or like
Right.
should remain hidden.
So I was careful not to say like weird. Um,
Right,
I just like it does seem like there's like a male female binary that does exist in terms of sex, like for reproduction.
okay, I guess specifically for reproduction, but then there's like a whole slew of other things like um that I'm not prepared to talk about right now apparently. But no, just like I think that I mean there's things like what's the word? Impotence
Uh-huh.
or like just having the inability to reproduce. So like just because you have these specific genitals or specific
Right. Doesn't make you a
reproductive
man. Just because you have
organs.
a penis like maybe you can't reproduce, so you're really not a real man.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Nailed it.
Right. Yeah. I'm not saying like intersex people are weird or don't exist or should be shunned, but they just and they do exist outside of a male female binary, or maybe within both male female binary, or they can frame it however they want to frame it. And I'm down with that. I don't want to like say that there's something wrong with those folks, but I do. That's why it's normal to be normal, right? But it does seem like it's abnormal for someone, abnormal, that like an exception to the binary that does exist.
Yeah, just as we framed it medically, like there's deeper like um I don't know, clues or whatever. I mean, I guess if you're thinking about only reproduction, like yeah, you need these two separate parts. You need like someone who can create the sperm, and you need someone who can like hold um or like accept the sperm and like create and grow and gestate.
So
So
yeah.
like yeah, there is that like basic thing, but that's like I don't know, neither of us like are interested in reproduction like and making children and I don't know, bringing more little shits to create a chaotic world.
Well,
I don't know.
I
Like
guess what
so
we were talking about like neutrality as being um sort of a little bit part of the antidote to the binary mindset. And so I wanted to
okay,
put forth first
that's an example.
that like binaries exist in our in reality,
Mhm.
but unfortunately, and I do think some of this is like just like coming down to like the two-party system or whatever in our politics, American politics, um that people want to distill everything down into binaries when the universe is more complicated than that, the world, society, the human experience. um so that yeah, so for sexes there's a binary, but then in terms of genders, like there's no, it seems like very I don't know, it's just like barbaric for to have these like gender roles where
Mhm.
um for sex and dating, like women need to be pursued and men need to be like the pursuer, and things like that. We have these roles. um I mean, we used to talk about, boy, like even in like the end of the 20th century, like, a woman's place is in the home and men are the breadwinners. And even though like we knew that was like false and oversimplified back in the 1980s, now it's like,
Well,
you know,
the 1980s, there was a boom of women going to work,
right.
and part of that too was capitalism. People like what's the word? Businesses, whatever, like capitalists were like, oh, we're missing out on a market of purchasers, of consumers. And so then they started to appeal to the woman consumer. I mean, they were doing that even before with like household
Oh yeah.
appliances, but
Women
like
are always
then they were making their
consumers.
own money and they could like I don't know,
Well,
spend
what they
freely,
could do.
and they were caring for the children still as free labor.
Well, what I was about to say, so I
Yeah.
didn't mean to interrupt
Oh,
you.
okay. I
um
didn't mean to interrupt you.
but that it also let it just dragged down as soon as 50% more people went into the workplace. It dragged the wages way down because now there's way more people than there are jobs. When it was and so wages go down. Wages stagnated for 40 years.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
they didn't go up. The price of everything else, especially housing, skyrockets, but
Mhm.
wages don't go up because, I mean, and I don't think I don't think it's wrong that like women became like full-fledged workers alongside men. Um but I do think it was, you were saying why did businesses want women to enter the workplace? You're saying for them to become consumers. I think it was so they could become labor, and that they could pay everybody less now because,
I see.
oh man, who's been working in this factory, you want a raise? Well, I've got to line out the door for people who want your job for what you're being paid,
Right.
you know.
Right.
But how we even got on this topic again was the idea of neutrality, that like instead of something being good or bad, um things can be neutral. They can just be what they are, and we don't have to assign
Mhm.
some kind of value that fits onto a spectrum
Mhm.
or a binary. Because by the way, folks, a spectrum is just another way of imposing binaries on things
Mhm.
when they don't necessarily be there. Anyway, this was just a quick one. We missed a couple days here and there, so we're gonna sign off. But thank you for
We'll
listening.
be back later. Thank you.